Run.
They're 1-2-2. Nice mix. Oh my goodness.
Do you guys understand how hard something like this is to do? He got the ball and just decided to go straight up with no regard for who was in front of him. He had little to no gather and still somehow managed to finish over the 6'8" Daniel Tice. That right there is special. It looked like Anthony Edwards was out there playing slam ball and just hit a trampoline. He even said himself that even he didn't think that he was capable of dunking that in that moment.
I ain't even take no dribble. I ain't think I was gonna dunk it, but it happened.
Anthony Edwards is so good, yet he's still finding ways to surprise himself, which is surprising in itself given his level of confidence. When the Minnesota Timberwolves won the NBA lottery in 2020, they hit the jackpot. The Nuggets, Pacers, Grizzlies, Heat, Thunder, and Jazz have never had the opportunity to pick first in the NBA draft for whatever reason. Meanwhile, here were the Minnesota Timberwolves, now with the opportunity to do so twice within a 5-year time span. So there would be a ton of speculation about what the Timberwolves should actually do with their pick. In fact, they weren't so sure what they should do with it themselves. Ahead of the 2020 NBA draft, executives around the NBA were saying that the Timberwolves had actually preferred to trade down or out of this pick completely so that they could bring in a win-now player to Minnesota to help out Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. Look, I know what you guys are thinking, and I thought the exact same thing. While it's easy to dunk on the Timberwolves for even thinking about trading that pick with what Anthony Edwards has been showing us right now,
And they give ground.
Edwards for the tie. Oh, yes.
What amazing performance.
when you really think about the pick that became Ant almost being traded, you have to remember that when the Wolves got D'Angelo Russell ahead of the 2020 trade deadline, they didn't just give up Andrew Wiggins to get him. They also gave up a 2021 second round pick and a top 3 protected 2021 first round pick. So you could imagine why this team felt the need to take that 2020-2021 season so seriously. I probably wouldn't want to give the Warriors Jonathan Kuminga either. To take things a step further, though Anthony Edwards was the most likely number 1 overall pick in that draft, there was no real consensus number 1 overall player. And to be honest, as good as Anthony Edwards is, he wasn't immune to question marks entering the NBA draft. Coming into the 2020 NBA draft, there were questions surrounding his jump shot, the consistency of his motor, and even his overall love for the game of basketball, all because of a pre-draft interview that he did where he said, "I can't watch basketball, I'm still not really into it." He'd continue saying that, "I love basketball, yeah, it's what I do," but then said that if he were drafted by the NFL, that he'd let basketball go, all because you can do anything on the field. You can spike the ball, you can dance, you can do all type of disrespectful stuff. In the NBA, you can't do any of that stuff. You'll get fined. While taking anything from this interview feels incredibly silly in hindsight, there was some substance to the concerns surrounding Anthony Edwards' drive. In an interview from last year, Anthony Edwards discussed how a pre-draft exchange with Warriors head coach Steve Kerr changed his entire outlook on everything heading into the draft. To quote Ant, "I'm doing this drill that they say that Steph does. I'm running, touching the line, shoot, running, touching the line, shoot. You've got to make 5 in a row. I couldn't do it. I'm too tired." I'm like, man, it's too much, but I'm not saying this, so I'm just jogging. After the workout, Steve Kerr comes to me and he's like, "You can't go any faster." I'm like, "I thought I was going pretty fast." He was like, "Nah, do it again." So now I'm trying to sprint and I'm looking all crazy, missing left, missing right. So then we go to dinner and he's telling me, "Man, if we draft you at number 2, you've got to be a hard worker. You're not working hard enough." At that same dinner, Kerr would reference how hard Steph and KD would work, saying that it might not be long, but when they're in there, they're going hard. After this exchange, Anthony Edwards would call up his trainer and let him know that things had to change. Turns out that a locked-in Anthony Edwards was exactly what basketball needed. Anthony Edwards has been going off in the NBA since he got drafted, And what's terrifying is that his game is improving at a rapid rate. Anthony Edwards has gone from this electric rookie that averaged 19.3 points and 4.7 rebounds for a 23-win Timberwolves team to taking the Timberwolves to the playoffs in back-to-back years while having monster performances along the way. Despite getting bounced in the first round by the champs last year, Anthony Edwards gave them all that they could handle without key players like Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid. Ant would average 31.6 points, 5 rebounds, and 5.2 assists on 48.2% from the field against the Denver Nuggets. Anthony Edwards did this while only being 21. Thanks to his performance in that Nuggets series, Anthony Edwards would pass Kobe Bryant, moving into second place all time for having the most 30-point playoff games under 22 years old. To this, Anthony Edwards would say, "It's just stats. Those guys like Kobe and LeBron, they've won championships." And to be real, championships is exactly what Anthony Edwards is going to need to win if he ever wants to fulfill his dream of catching Michael Jordan and becoming the greatest shooting guard of all time. While Ant is nowhere near Mike currently, and he might never be, they do share some similarities. Ant, like Mike did, loves to score the ball. So much so that Ant said this when talking about his role on Team USA of all teams. "That's what I do. I score the ball. So why would I try to come out here and do something else?" I'm not going to lie. When I saw this quote from Ant, I got a bit worried, seeing as the NBA game is very different from the one that is played internationally. To be short, you need to move the ball. And this quote from Ant wasn't the most pro ball movement, "I'll do whatever it takes to win" quote. While that's not your typical quote, Ant's really not your typical player. Turns out that actions always speak louder than words. Not only has Ant been scoring the ball at a high rate, but he's also been giving Team USA everything that they need. Now, don't get me wrong, Team USA is so talented that different guys are going to go off on different nights. But as things stand, Ant has been looking like the guy for Team USA. So much so that head coach Steve Kerr said that he's unquestionably the guy, and you can see that he knows it. But now the team knows it, and I think the fans see it. He genuinely believes he's the best player in the gym every single night, and he's such a dynamic young player. I think he's taking a leap. Guys, we're already at the point in Anthony Edwards' career where 34-point games where he hits big shot after big shot is just the norm for him. Ant has absolutely no problem rising to the moment. Against the Germany team that's loaded with NBA level talent, he was phenomenal. Ant has truly evolved into an elite two-way player that's truly just starting to scratch the surface of their potential, which doesn't even feel right to say. Guys, do not sleep on this guy's defense. He's a menace in the passing lanes and a ferocious shot blocker for his size. He reminds me a lot of a young D Wade in that regard. Now, as good as Ant currently is, he's not perfect. I look forward to seeing Ant continue to evolve as a rebounder and a passer who takes advantage of the gravity that their dominant shot creation and slashing provides. I know that a lot of people don't like the Timberwolves. They didn't like the Gobert trade. Look, I get it, but in my opinion, I think that Ant is a great player that has the potential to make a good team a great one, despite the Timberwolves' mistakes. If you guys want a full Timberwolves video, just let me know. I'll be sure to bring it to the channel. Guys, let me know what you think of everything down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.